Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening too.
How is it? Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening
Good
too.
evening. Thank you. Kindly make your mic. Kindly don't unmute yourself if you'll not be speaking during the session. So welcome to today's session on building IAP Mother and Child Training, session 3. I will be your moderator, Katile Mutuku, and today we are going to learn on menstrual cycle. About endometriosis. I'd like to know if the speaker in is Elsie in.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I'm on the call.
Okay, is Mercy Wanjiru in? Wanjiku. Is Mercy Wanjiku in? Is Mercy Wanjiku in? I can't see him. I can't see her in the participant list. Oh, I'm asking for Mercy Wanjiku. Is Mercy Wanjiku in? Okay, before she gets in, today we'll be learning about menstrual cycle, and our speaker will be Mercy Wanjiku, who is a menstrual health advocate. She's from Positive Young Women's Voices, and they create awareness on menstrual cycle and things to do with menstrual cycle. And then we'll also have who is kindly mute yourself. Okay. We'll also have a speaker on endometriosis, who is Elsie Wandera from the Endometriosis Foundation of Kenya, and she's also the CEO of Heroes of Change. Endometriosis is a menstrual complication. It's a complication that is brought about due to changes, maybe hormonal, depends on your menstrual cycle, that is mostly on the girls. So that's all we'll be learning. So just be ready with your questions on menstrual cycle and your question on endometriosis. Maybe you have a friend who is experiencing endometriosis. So Elsie will be there to take you through that topic. I don't know if Mercy is in. I'm waiting for Mercy because she's our first speaker, and it's good to learn about endometriosis when we already know about menstrual cycle. So because of time, because our first speaker is not in, I think because our second speaker is in, we will welcome her to start the session, and then we'll have the next speaker. So our first topic could be endometriosis. For those who are watching us Facebook Live, our first session is endometriosis, and we'll have a speaker from Endometriosis Foundation of Kenya, and she'll talk more about herself, more about our foundation, and more about endometriosis. So keep your questions coming, and I would like to know if you are following. You can use a thumbs up in the chat box before we welcome our speaker. I can see thumbs up. Thank you so much. So welcome so much, Elsie Wanjera. We would like to know more about endometriosis and know more about your foundation and what you do and how we can create awareness as youth about endometriosis. So welcome so much and feel much appreciated as you start your session. Elsie?
Hello, sorry about that. I've actually come on. Can you all see me?
Yeah.
I wonder, am I able to present?
Yeah, you are able to present.
Okay, fantastic. Let me just share my screen. Just give me 1 minute. Let me bring up my slides. Let me know once you can see it.
It's visible.
I'm just going to do that. So can you see the whole slide?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I thought I would title my presentation Finding Purpose in Pain because, I mean, you get a sense of what I do and why I chose to title the message Finding Purpose in Pain. So, and especially just talking about specifically the role of the Endometriosis Foundation of Kenya. Let me just see, are you seeing my next slide?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So this is how it started, just from a place of pain and frustration, just continually seeking a cure and not finding a cure. Endometriosis to date has no known medical cause or no known medical cure. There are ways of managing the condition, but I will talk about it. And, I just want to correct you who introduced me earlier. And, the definition that you gave of endometriosis was completely incorrect, but, that's why we're here. So I will share a little bit about what that is. Just to give you some context or just some understanding in terms of what the impact of endometriosis currently affects 1 in 10 women around the world. And if women who had endometriosis formed a country, it certainly would be the 7th or 8th largest country in the world. And so for me, the reason why we started the foundation is I believe it is time to change the narrative about period pain being normal. And it's time that people heard the stories of the women who suffer with endometriosis. So endometriosis is a condition in which tissue similar to the lining, what lines the uterus here, and I think this is what is called the endometrium, grows outside of the uterus. So this, you find that these cells, the cells that are supposed to be growing inside that lining that is supposed to be growing on the inside finds its way out here. And there are various theories. So I'm not a scientist, and I'm not going to even give it a shot in terms of even attempting to explain what it is. But, you know, there are various theories about why this could be happening. But like I said, endometriosis is a condition that has no known cause at the moment. But I think one of the things which I must say in terms of just giving, you know, giving context to, in terms of the role that the country is playing in finding a cure, there are centers and there are scientists, there are clinicians who are passionate about finding a cure. And I think one of the centers, I think it's called the Primate Center up in Karen, where they're trying to find a better and a less invasive method of diagnosing endometriosis, because currently the only way that you can be definitively diagnosed is through a procedure called a laparoscopy. So how endometriosis manifests, of course, is you know, just by, you know, when a woman or a woman in her reproductive years, and not certainly limited to even her reproductive years, but women who experience painful periods that is known medically as dysmenorrhea. This does not necessarily mean that she's experiencing period pain only during the menstruation, but even outside of menstruation. And, you know, so other symptoms include painful intercourse, painful bowel movement, or excessive bleeding. And I think there's some statistics around the women who suffer from infertility as a result of endometriosis, and I think it's 1 in 3 women who are diagnosed, or a third of the population that suffer with endometriosis actually suffer with have infertility as challenges. There are numerous other symptoms, and there are other ways actually endometriosis presents itself, rarely and in very, very rare cases, presenting itself in the brain and also in the lungs. And so I think one of the challenges that faces, a lot of doctors actually have a problem diagnosing endometriosis and often misdiagnose it because the symptoms mimic other conditions. So like, for example, you know, if you're experiencing painful bowel movements, sometimes it's easy or for a doctor to think or to relate it to irritable bowel syndrome. But like I said, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to speak any medical jargon and stuff like that. I'll try and keep this as relatable as possible, just to bring it to the fore, to help you guys see the face of endometriosis and how it impacts community. So we started the foundation in 2015 as a platform just to help women come together, have real conversation about the impact of the condition, and try and find medical intervention and other complementary efforts to definitely help the women get a better and an improved quality of life. And I'll share my story a little bit so that you understand why it was necessary. So for us, we take pride in making sure that we are unstereotyping period pain, and we are presenting a platform for women who continue to suffer in silence to come forth and actually talk about their pain, because period pain is not normal. Anytime your body is in pain, or any part of your body is in pain, that's an indicator that something is actually wrong and that you should actually seek medical attention. So, for us, we seek to raise awareness about endometriosis in the country, especially amongst young girls and women and the families, and even the support structure of those who are around endometriosis warriors. And just make sure, again, that we better the description of the prevalence of endometriosis by presenting a better landscape of the number of women who are suffering. So, of course, these are our objectives, but broadly, but the most important thing for me here is that our role is trying to see how we can influence government policies in Kenya on the management of endometriosis. And of course, trying to make sure that we direct women to the right doctors who specialize, who understand what endometriosis is, because it's not enough for you to see a gynecologist. It's more important for you to see a gynecologist who understands endometriosis and can actually help you manage it along the way. And so what we do as the foundation mainly is, engaging with the public, through social media. We, of course, have physical face-to-face kind of engagements, but where we recognize, where first, like we celebrate World Endometriosis Day every month, in the month of March every year. And I think we've done that very religiously, save for COVID having started. And then we've also got a support group on Telegram and Facebook, where we're trying to build community and just trying to make sure that women understand that it's okay. It's okay for you to have a painful period, but it's not okay to live with it. It doesn't take away from who you are. It doesn't mean that you're abnormal, etc. And it doesn't mean that you're not wife enough, for example. So for us, what we try to make sure that, we pass across is that, endometriosis is a real condition, and it's not something that women imagine. And so for us, our hope is that, we are working towards ending the stigma around painful periods and women who actually suffer with painful periods. And that becomes like our primary focus amongst very many others, including, just engaging with the different stakeholders in this same space, like what we're doing here today, just making sure that we are raising enough awareness, not only with the public, but also the medical practitioners, because we know that a lot of the patients who end up going to see doctors have more information, have more knowledge and understanding about the condition than their doctors. So I think for us, it gives us, just such great pride to be a part of the World Endometriosis Organizations. And I sit on the committee of the World Endometriosis Organizations. And that for me was fantastic, because it just meant that, someone around the world is seeing the work that we're doing here in Kenya, and it's not in vain. Of course, we partner with Aga Khan Hospital and FED, where we have an endometriosis specialist who we collaborate with, and I'm part of the Endometriosis East Africa team as well. So the work that we do around ending stigma and, just the myths, for example, is, so this is just a sample of some of the work that we do, some of the interviews that I've been on, or that we've participated in. and that we keep pushing, like the narrative that, what, period pain is not normal. And I'll talk a little bit about that when I come. So let me share my story. So again, my name is, did I say my name? I hope I said my name, but you said my name. I remember you said my name. So my name is Elsie Wandera, and I'm 41 years old. And I was first diagnosed with endometriosis when I was at the age of 15 or thereabouts. And I remember during that time, there were a lot of people telling me that I was feigning my illness, and that was in school. Because, I wanted to miss out on school activities, or I didn't want to participate in responsibilities, in school, or I was skiving class, to put it plainly. But what that meant for me is that I used to go for injections, every so often, just to make sure that I could manage the pain. But it was not until when I was around 26 when I was definitively diagnosed with endometriosis. And I remember the easiest way that the doctor who was describing what I was going through could tell me or help me understand what I was suffering with was he just told me that my uterus was growing inside out. Of course, after you have seen my presentation and you've seen the definition of endometriosis, the uterus is not growing inside out. It's just the lining that is within the lining similar to the one that grows inside the endometriosis, the uterus finds itself outside and starts growing, and that's how it, and so to also help you understand how that happens and what causes that pain is, I like to use, for example, the example that your uterus is the only organ in the body that was designed to shed, to menstruate. So imagine if you find that tissue or that lining outside of the uterus. Of course, it's going to be excruciating. There's obviously some level of discomfort, when you're even when you're ovulating or even when you're on your period, but it's not supposed to be excruciating, debilitating, that ends you up in hospital or that type of stuff, or just impacting the quality of your life. So I had my first surgery when I was 26, right? And I think having gone through that surgery, I thought I would be fine. But the doctor put me on hormone therapy, and that went on for about 3 months. And after I was done, I was back in the ER. I was back in hospitals getting injections, etc. And it's like nothing had changed. And I remember I picked up the phone and I called the doctor and I asked him, what's going on? I thought you said you were going to fix this problem. And, he just told me, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to help you. And that for me was quite devastating to hear. So I have since had, a total of 4 surgeries. And, some of them, they had to remove some cysts that were manifesting and growing around the ovaries. And I think because of the extent of the disease, I've lost my ovaries. It has impacted my AMH levels, so I cannot conceive naturally. That's something that that ship has sailed. Sex was very uncomfortable for me, I must say. And a number of other symptoms that I cannot explain. But I think for me, why I started this foundation was because I imagined the number of women who are out there suffering in silence because they were unable to share their story or even come forth and really feel like that their pain is valid. And so for me, it's important that we put, a stop and an end to the silence, and we stop belittling or minimizing or invalidating the pain that the women who are actually going through this condition. So this is a sample of some of the campaign and some of the things that we've done on social in terms of just trying to raise awareness about it. But we really believe that it's, and I mean, just the lack of awareness about what endometriosis is what contributes to the normalization of endometriosis. You know, like, for example, for us, it would be important that a woman, when a girl, even in her teen years, first presents those symptoms, that if she's given the adequate medical attention sooner, that she would then not have to suffer the period, because it takes on average about 8 years before a woman is definitively diagnosed. That's one. Secondly, we do not have the expertise, or we don't even have trained medical personnel who understand what endometriosis is, to definitively diagnose and give a sustainable medical plan to make sure that the women do not continue to suffer. And that's why I think, if you've had some of the stories in the media, the women who are going into surgery or trying to find an intervention even have to go outside the country. I just think that's not right. And I think that's why we should push for the government to make sure that at least all the medical students who are learning today should learn about endometriosis, because I am aware, I'm very, very aware that in the universities today, the information that they are actually taught is very, very minimal about endometriosis. And then, for us, it's important that the biggest challenge, that faces women who are suffering with endometriosis, which is infertility, which is the inability to bear women. It takes away a core essence of what a woman is, or who she is. I know that when I was told that I could not conceive naturally, and that I had lost my ovaries, and ladies and gentlemen, this is not to say that anyone who is diagnosed with endometriosis will also will not be able to conceive children. I have had numerous stories, success stories of women who have endometriosis and have been able to conceive. So if caught early and if managed, you can actually be able to conceive. But not only that, there's technology today that we can leverage on and just make sure that women are actually getting other opportunities and other ways that they can actually get children. But of course, we know that it's not affordable. So how do we think and remember the women who are at the bottom of the pyramid, who cannot afford even access to medical treatment or medical care? What do we do about those kinds of people? And that's why we are here, because we're trying to find a solution in terms of just making sure that we can spread this knowledge beyond the city of Nairobi, go to places like Kisumu, go to places like Turkana, where we know that women do not actually, there are women who it's a shame to, and even a taboo to even talk about the stigma that is related to period pain. And so for us, it's important that we challenge government, we challenge status quo, and we make sure that we raise endometriosis to become a part of the national conversation. If they're talking about, if they're making, if cancer is a part of the, the national agenda, why shouldn't endometriosis be a part of the agenda? Because like I said earlier, imagine with me, if all the women who suffer with endometriosis around the world formed a country, it would be the 8th largest country in the world. And women who are suffering with endometriosis, their productivity is significantly impacted. But it does not mean that they should be denied opportunities in the workplace, because I think that's one of the stories that we keep hearing in the group about, people being sidelined, or missing out on opportunities to advance their careers because they have endometriosis, because it means like every month, you know, they'll have to miss out on work for 2 days, legitimately, even with a doctor's letter, still. So for me, I feel like that's an injustice, and that's an unfair move, especially by employers. So for me, it's to appeal to employers. Let's see these women and let's celebrate them. Let's validate their pain by making sure that they continue to participate in building the economy of this country, by giving them an opportunity to work and to take on some of these opportunities in the workplaces. Marriages continue to suffer because, like I said earlier, imagine with me if sex is painful and you're telling your husband, I cannot have sex. The imagination of the man is that, you know, this woman is probably seeing another man, or she's probably getting it from somewhere else, which is very unfortunate. So I would urge again, the people who are around women who are suffering, who are presenting symptoms similar to endometriosis, to one, seek medical attention as much as possible and just try and find assistance, because it's important. It's not only important for the women, but it's also important for us, for the people who are around them, so that they do not have to miss out on social gatherings. I know of, you know, people who, like, they just cannot get out of the house. Women who are suffering with depression because they feel they've been to so many doctors who have told them that they're imagining their pain, or they're making up stories in their head. I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, what we've had out there. But I think my prayer is that, you know, we would come out and support these women without condemning them, without vilifying them, without making them feel like they're nothing just because they're suffering from a medical condition that still has no cure. But yeah, and also, you know, just come out, participate. For example, like, I think when a call like this is fantastic attendance in terms of you know, just this call that I'm on right now. And I'm sure, you know, like you said, you're streaming on Facebook. I think when you see calls like this, you know, come out, participate, be a part of the conversation. If you know a woman who has been presenting these symptoms, or if you are a woman who currently is experiencing some of these pains or these symptoms, please seek medical advice. Don't sit there with the pain. The sooner it is diagnosed, the easier it will become for you to manage it in the future. Okay, so I have a video which I'd like to play, and I pray that you people hear it. Let me just make sure that my sound, you can hear my sound. I really hope you can hear my sound.
It's both a relief and scary feeling, because you don't know the cause, you don't know the cure. You are given myths around it. There are very many theories around it, but what is it? You know, other than the medical definition that we have.
The whole body is paining because of the hot flashes. She's not able to do anything. The headaches.
So I can be in pain for about a week.
And the pain became worse and worse. And I was like, no, this is not normal.
I have painkillers everywhere. Literally, if I was caught by cops, I'd have a hard time explaining why I have so many pills, but I try my best to make my life comfortable.
I used to get period pain. As far as I know, I've been told that is normal.
Some of these symptoms which occur during menstruation, like dysmenorrhea or very severe cramps, they not necessarily just been maybe due to underlying cause. And endometriosis is known to cause a lot of pain, even up to 50%. women with endometriosis will experience dysmenorrhea or painful period.
I had operations done and my bill was too high and the insurance was saying they can't pay. And I think that's the biggest issue we have in Kenya because no insurance wants to cover endo.
And you're like, this is the time finances is not one of the things you want to hear about because, yeah, you resign, you have no income.
We know treatment of endometriosis is still also very expensive because it's through surgery. And so there's need also locally to do our own research and try to come up with new options for treatment, which may be cheaper for the patient locally.
It was a bit of a challenge.
We must also get to a place where we also celebrate these women because they are also going through a very tough time emotionally. And we must make sure that there is care being provided for them at an emotional level, just so that, because they are enduring a lot as it is, marriages are suffering, relationships are suffering. There's also someone who's losing her job because of this endometriosis, her livelihood, and the whole quality, social, quality of life of this woman is compromised because of endometriosis.
I used to go to Facebook and Google endometriosis so that I see, are there other people suffering from this or am I the only person? Then I saw Endometriosis Foundation of Kenya. I clicked on that was happening. And that's the best thing that happened in my life because I got to be in a group where there are other people going through what I'm going through.
It helped because I was not alone. It gave me a better understanding of what I was going through, to know that I'm not by myself, to know that it is okay to express myself when I'm feeling pain. It is okay to speak about it. It is okay not to feel as though it's a stigma, and be comfortable in my own skin. Just live a normal life, ideally.
And we've brought women, we've brought doctors, we've brought scientists, what endometriosis warriors, and they've encouraged that it is not only the endometriosis warriors who are getting educated, but the general public is also benefiting from the cause and the efforts.
There is global effort to get a solution for endometriosis. One is to diagnose the disease early. The other approach is to have better treatment options, just rather than just relying on the hormonal-based drugs.
No more depression, no more pity from people. We don't want pity. We just want to be understood. No more hearing of broken marriages because of infertility. There's got to be a better health system to afford a laparoscopic surgery. There's got to be affordable means across all the counties for every woman and young girl who started her periods that are painful to just know that she can also be like the rest of the girls.
Just make sure that you hold their hand when they're suffering and listen to them. Give them a shoulder, and don't make them feel like that they are an alien or they've got a communicable disease. It's not communicable. You will not get endometriosis.
And that's it for me. So I will probably look at some of the questions. I think I've done, but like when we're talking about endometriosis, it's not even like we've not even scratched the surface. Like there is so much more. There's so much more information that I can share. But again, I'm just an advocate. I'm very passionate about it. I'm a patient. And I do my best in terms of just making sure that we're having the right conversation. We're starting at least to have the right kind of conversations and making sure that the public is sufficiently equipped or at least informed in terms of what endometriosis is, at least at a very basic level. So I can see, Katile, I can see questions. Do you want me to take on the questions in the comment section?
Hello, yes, you can just take them on.
Okay, fine. So I'll just read some of the comments. Yeah, I have one from Jacqueline, who's asking, does endometriosis come with irregular periods? Yes. And again, like I said, I can't explain medically, but yes, those are some of the symptoms, irregular periods. Yeah, like the changes in dates in different months and having periods twice a month. Yeah, because sometimes you can have it can present itself like you're always spotting sometimes during the month. So it's possible. But again, like I said, Jackie, please seek medical attention. Gikuru, my question revolves around pregnancy and endometriosis. During pregnancy, what is the experience like when you have endometriosis? Well, because when you're pregnant, you do not experience the symptoms of endometriosis, because what happens is that the hormones are suppressed at that point. And therefore you do not experience the pain and the symptoms that you would have when you're not pregnant. And that's why being pregnant is sometimes a myth that is out there. You know, like I'm sure you've had women being told, oh, just get pregnant and then this pain will go away. Indeed, you will have relief just but for the 9 months. But after that, I know of cases where women have started presenting the symptoms of endometriosis after they've given birth and after their pregnancy. So it varies. And endometriosis is not like a one size fits all, you know, like diabetes, you know, like you have low sugar or high sugar, you know, but for endometriosis, it's not like there's a script that we use to say, like, for example, because you have this and this, that's the final diagnosis. So it's very how it manifests for different women and how different women suffer is very different. It's not the same for everyone. There are obviously different stages of endometriosis, so the stage 1 through to 4, but it doesn't mean that if you have stage 4 that it's completely like you'll have debilitating pain. The person who could have endometriosis stage 1, depending on where it is, could have the worst kind of hospitalization, kind of requiring pain than a person who has stage 4. So again, I think Katile would be interesting, you know, to just hear from a medical perspective. And I don't know if you your future sessions can allow, but I'm happy to share with you Dr. Charles Muteshi's contacts from Aga Khan Hospital, who can actually be able to walk us through that. So like I've said, in Kenya, which health facilities offer endometriosis tests? So there's no test for endometriosis. So how they diagnose it is, first and foremost, they can actually do an ultrasound or a transvaginal scan. And if you are trained to recognize the nodules and the lesions, etc., you will be able to see endometriosis. But for definitive diagnosis, that has to be done through a procedure called a laparoscopy. And I know there's several hospitals you can actually go and get that done, but it just, again, it's seeking the right expertise. So I know of Dr. Charles Muteshi at Aga Khan Hospital. There's Raj Dodia at MP Shah. There is Wanjiru Ndegwa, who runs her own facility. There are quite a number of doctors, and you know, Katile, what I could do is I could share contacts of some of these doctors that I know, and then, you know, if anyone just needs to seek them out, they can definitely do that. There's another question that's come in that asks, what are the chances of giving birth when you're diagnosed with endometriosis? There are chances. It doesn't mean that if you have endometriosis, you will not be able to conceive or give birth. Yeah. So the chances of giving birth, of course, are not going to be minimized. I mean, depending on if the disease, how severe the disease is and the extent of the disease, that is what is going to determine. Like, for example, for me at the age of 41, that's how I then, because of how bad or severe my disease was, and what they call it is deep infiltrating endometriosis, where they found, the uterus is shaped like this, but instead it had actually carved up into a ball and everything was linked up. So if at all that happens to you, which is, again, it's not, like I say, like, I'll share my symptoms, I'll share my experience, but it doesn't mean that that's what will happen to you. So again, seek medical advice. So yes, it is possible for you to conceive. And I think it's important for you to have that conversation with your doctor before you have surgery, just to understand, like, for example, if he goes in and he finds the, severe disease, and in case he has to, excise or just harvest a part of your ovaries because of maybe the presentation of the cysts on the ovary, that will have an impact on your conception, of course, later, and on your ovarian count. I think I really admire men, because, men never lose their sperm count, for as long as, for as long as they're, they start their puberty and they start, growing older, they still have a supply of sperm until they die. But women continue to lose their supply naturally, not because of anything, but just because of how we were designed. And so the older we get, of course, the lower your chances. So the factor of your age also is at play. So, with the knowledge that, yes, you're suffering with endometriosis, of course, it doesn't, take away that chance for you to naturally conceive, because you can, but have that conversation again with your gynecologist. What is the immediate remedy for endometriosis in case you find yourself in a congregation and away from a health facility? Unfortunately, painkillers. But you see, my role as an advocate of endometriosis, I don't want to advocate for women to continue popping pain medication, right? It's about finding a sustainable care for you, and management method for you, by directing you to the right doctors. So if it means also seeing a pain management specialist, also seeing a therapist who will help you also walk through the situation. So it has to take a multidisciplinary approach. So not only the gynecologist, but you need a couple of other experts on board to help you actually manage the pain. So for example, if you're in a congregation, unfortunately, you'll just have to, depending on how bad the pain is, you'll have to just rush to hospital to get some pain, or to get some attention for that. Yes, you're right, Lavin. Aga Khan Hospital. So how do you differentiate the signs and symptoms of periods with the ones of endometriosis? I think, Rose, like, that's just like such a straightforward question. Like, I mean, and it requires no thinking, that if you have normal periods, you don't have pain, right? And that's why, women who have endometriosis, who present, and even other conditions. So not only endometriosis, there's adenomyosis, there's PCOS, there's so many other conditions that are reproductive health related, that come with painful periods. So if a woman who has for her whole life has never known period pain, she believes that she's the standard. But women who are going through painful period are then that's why there's such a huge stigma around around endometriosis and the period pain. So, and the women who suffer with it are actually labeled, you know, lazy and stuff like that. So the obvious difference is that a woman who suffers from endometriosis is going through excruciating, debilitating pain. Can one get endometriosis after the first child? Like I said, I have heard of women who get endometriosis. I mean, the symptoms of endometriosis can lay dormant, and then you conceive, and then you give birth, and then the pain starts. Okay, so it doesn't mean that, like I said, it doesn't mean that just because you're not presenting the symptoms doesn't mean that you don't have endometriosis. You could actually have endometriosis. Should the male gender be keen on this? Yes. There are few cases of men who have known to have endometriosis. I don't have enough data about that, but I can direct you to our website, which I will type on here to just find out about how endometriosis affects men. But it's a very, very, very small population, and that population is the one that I'm talking about. Like, you know, they'll present endometriosis, like they'll find it in their brain, for example, but it's a very, very, very minute size of population. Can you get an yes? So yeah, then is endometriosis treatable completely? No. There is no non-medical cure. What are the myths associated with endometriosis? I think one of them that I talked about is that, you know, if you give birth, you know, you will be cured. You know, endometriosis pain is imagined. Like, that's one of the other myths around endometriosis. Another myth is that, you know, that there is a cure. There is no cure of endometriosis. Another myth is that it only affects your uterus and you know, only on the days around your periods. No, you can actually experience the pain even outside of your menstruation days. As an endo advocate, what's the biggest challenge that you faced with the Kenya government? I think because we don't have enough data, sufficient data to just tell us how many women around the country are suffering with endometriosis. It's hard for us to walk into that office and say we need actually the attention. However, I'm not the only organization that exists that's raising awareness around endometriosis. There are several others that have been successful in terms of, like, I know there are conversations right now around modifying and amending the current existing policy on MHM to include, you know, the menstrual disorders. So not only endometriosis, but adenomyosis, fibroids, and all the others, PCOS, that are included. But the challenge is, for as long as we don't have numbers, and that means for as long as women are not talking about it, we are not making enough noise, and we continue to suffer in silence, and we continue to just sit in our, you know, quietly around it. You know, no one will think that it's an issue. But if we continue to drum up, you know, our, you know, like our roofs and, you know, making noise from the top of our roofs, then yes, we will get the attention. So if someone feels pain after sex, does it mean that they have endometriosis? No. Miriam, no. There are myriad of reasons that you could be having pain after sex. And like I said earlier, the symptoms of endometriosis will mimic other conditions, and therefore it will feel like, you know, someone can misdiagnose endometriosis or can misdiagnose another condition, you know, can diagnose you with another condition instead of endometriosis because you're presenting symptoms that are similar to that disease. So I think, how can I join your organization? Hey, hit me up, like the page on Facebook, Endometriosis Foundation of Kenya. And yeah, and I think I'll also ask Katile to share my email address, which I can actually do right now. And anyone who wants to write to me can do that, and reach out if, you know, if you want to support the cause. I would really appreciate Yeah, are there any other questions? Yeah, Jackie, I think yes. Another symptom of endometriosis is a cyst, but cysts again are other conditions also present with cysts, like polycystic ovarian syndrome, where women have a lot of cysts around their ovaries. So that's why, again, endometriosis does not lead to it. The symptom of endometriosis is a cyst, because what happens is the blood that is supposed to be shed, like for example in the uterus, when I talked about the endometrium, that the lining, that tissue that every month you shed as women, if the tissue is outside of the uterus, what ends up happening is that it builds up a pocket. Pockets. Someone, Amina, you need to mute your mic. Yeah, so what happens is how that cyst is formed around the ovary is that it builds a buildup of blood. And what then can be dangerous, and I remember why I needed to go in for surgery quite immediately, is that my cyst was actually bleeding. And it can erupt, which can then compromise the ovary and stuff like that. So yeah, what's the difference between endometriosis? Thelma, I don't know where you got those two from, but I just think it's a spelling, the difference. At what age can endometriosis begin? It starts as early as even 9. We've had the earliest cases as early as 13. But like for example, for teenagers, it's a very complex thing, even for them to even have surgery around to diagnose definitively. So there are other ways that they are helped to manage, which is like, that they can be put on pill. Yeah, Eunice, there is no normal period pain. Period pain is actually abnormal. Yes, back pain is actually is an indicator, is a symptom of endometriosis. In case you're using FP, I don't know what FP is. I don't know what FP is, Jackie. Yeah, Jackie, you're asking me a very good question. Do we visit the villages? We haven't yet been able to go up country, but we do have some champions in some cities. And just because of the structure of the foundation, the jurisdiction in terms of the spaces and the counties we can operate in, we are limited. So we can only operate in 5 counties. So we do, we do send out people to go and to become champions in their own communities as it stands. So I hear you. Yes, endometriosis become worse to the extent of death. No, you can't die. But there are women who have committed suicide because of the depression and the impact on their mental health. I think last year, I remember we were counting, I think it was in April, we had counted as many as 100 people, and those were abroad. I mean, those are global statistics, not necessarily in Kenya. But I know that there's some women in Kenya who have, I mean, like they're always, contemplating, they're always saying like they want to take their lives because of the stigma around endometriosis and how they feel shameful that they cannot conceive or give their husbands children, or, the marital problems, etc. But yeah, Jackie, I really have, oh yeah, thank you everyone for clarifying. So family planning. So the question was, in case of using family planning, you find that sometimes you don't have periods. Can this cause endometriosis? No. Again, like I said, Nancy, endometriosis has no known medical cause. Yeah, so we don't know what causes it. but it definitely is not family planning pills. So I think I'm just going to take the last 3 questions. I think I'll end with Eunice's question because I think I'm at the hour. So I think I started at 5:30 and now it's 6:30. Katile, is that okay if I end with Eunice's question?
Hello.
Is it okay that I end with Eunice's question?
Maybe you can just answer the questions, all the questions, and you end there. Yeah, with Eunice.
Okay, so I'll end there. That's what I'm saying. I end with Eunice's question.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, perfect. So Eric Kyoko can you relate backache during periods to endometriosis? Yes, but again, there have to be you'd have to go to the doctor to explain. So it's not only a backache that is like the main indicator, but yes, a backache is actually one of the symptoms of endometriosis. The risk factors of endometriosis, I don't know, it's like, is there a risk? Like when you have endometriosis? Nothing. I'm able to work, I'm here, I'm running a foundation, I'm running another organization. So, you know, I think for me, the biggest risks around endometriosis is just the impact on a woman's ability to conceive, you know, because maybe she loses her ovaries or something like that. And then Eunice's question, can endometriosis self-resolve? I haven't heard of that, Eunice, and good questions. I have a case that that had a very serious period pain in the first 1 year of her menses, 12 years, but it suddenly resolved and she can go through. Yeah, I mean, we've heard of miracle stories, by the way, and you know, so maybe perhaps Eunice needs to change your statement and say it's yes, there's a miracle. Miracles happen, man, and yeah, like you do actually find that there are people who after they give birth, the symptoms just disappear, and there's nothing that they can tell you, you know, of how they resolve. However, there are, you know, like there are lifestyle changes that you can actually make. I mean, there are foods that are known to alleviate and exacerbate the pain. So it's just important to actually watch what you're eating. Like I know gluten is not good for us because of the bloating. And you know, just because of the tension and around this, you know, the pelvic area, sometimes it can cause quite the discomfort for us even later. So yeah, so I see, I mean, I'm just gonna mention these last comments from Newton. Prevention of endometriosis. Endometriosis cannot be prevented. This is in part because the cause is poorly understood. Yes, but long-term use of birth control hormones, yes, may prevent, yes, of becoming worse. Correct. I feel like Newton is a doctor. Is he a doctor? Can transgender people develop endometriosis? Yes, Salma, they can. Many people don't understand, Eunice is saying, many people don't understand endometriosis, and a significant number of people or women who suffer here with ignorance, trying all manner of stuff. I believe a lot of awareness is required. You're very, very right. And that is why we're here. I first heard of this condition from Jambi. That is correct. She has thoracic endometriosis. Newton, you're a nursing student. Perfect. Perfect. All right. I think that's it from me. Katile, over to you.
So that's wonderful question. Actually, I just endometriosis is just pain. You're just having pains like the ones maybe people with fibroids have them. Yeah, at least I've learned something new. I just know it's dysmenorrhea and that's all. So thank you so much for that wonderful session. And I'm happy people are following and actually answering, asking questions. That means they are really learning. And I'm very, as you said, we look how we can look on the medical perspective on endometriosis. So maybe after you're done with our sessions, we look on maybe having maybe 1-day session on endometriosis, and I'm sure you'll join us with the medical professionals that we can also create awareness to other youths, and we know more about endometriosis because it's a condition that's affecting many girls. I know of a friend who had a surgery because of endometriosis, but she had given birth before, and then after that, that's all. And I'm so happy because I've learned something, and I'm sure we'll continue to interact more and learn more about endometriosis and how it affects fertility and how it affects pregnant women. And maybe from the participants, maybe if you got something about endometriosis to show appreciation to the speaker, you can just use a thumbs up. You can use a thumbs up. I can see thumbs up. Yeah, I can see. Thank you, Era. Thank you. Thank you, and Jacqueline, Auma, Enoch, Vivian. I see a lot of friends. Irene Dolly saying thanks for the presentation. Cherop is saying the session has been very interactive. Thank you. Bless you up. Thank you so much from Newton. Thank you so much from Josephine. AC Samuel, you can know Jambi story on YouTube and domestic. Yes. Josh is saying thank you so much. Many people that endometriosis pain is Mimaji, and that's why they miss the point. That is from Esther. Eunice is saying thank you. Eric is saying thank you. He wasn't personally aware of this condition, but I hope we need more mobilization of this. Try to reach out to many. Yeah, I think that's good. And then thank you all of you for following, and thank you, Elsie. I know we'll interact more, and it's an amazing topic that we need to know as girls and also as men, because we are also we are a family as well. So Connie is saying thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elsie. I'm so happy. I've learned some. Yeah, Winnie saying I've learned a lot from the session. Looking forward to more session. A really nice session and very educative. Nancy saying thank you for the session. Can we reach out to you and become youth advocates of the same?
Absolutely. I've shared my email, so I'll share it again.
Yeah, from the participants, we'll share the email for Elsie when I will be sharing the presentation and the record. Yeah, so I'll share. Elsie has also shared in the chat box. Maybe if you miss it, I'll also share it. And Bala is saying thank you so much for the session. And for me, I can't say even more thank you. I'm so much pleased, and I know we learned, and it was the most interactive session for today, and I appreciate the time I've spent listening from you. So thank you so much, and thank you so much from our team.
All right, I shall leave you guys to continue. Thank you. I almost secretly thank Mercy for not presenting before me, because now it allows me to drop off. But please enjoy the rest of the session.
Thank you so much. Okay, after now we have a topic on endometriosis from Elsie Wandera. We'll listen to Mercy Wanjiku from the Positive Women Voices Network, and she'll talk about menstruation, and you know how this menstruation will affect now people with endometriosis, how it's related to menstruation. So from our speaker, Mercy Wanjiku from Positive Women Voices, you're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mercy Wanjiku from Positive Young Women Voices. I am the menstrual hygiene advocate, and also I sit as a person representing the sexual reproductive health among young people. So today I'm going to present about menstruation cycle, and I'm going to share my screen. So can you all see?
No, no.
The hell. Okay, okay. What happened? Okay. So, share screen wapi? Katile, you can engage a bit with the participants as I work on the screen in like 2 minutes, then I share it.
Okay, it's okay. As you overheard, endometriosis is a complication that you have very painful periods and we'll tackle on menstrual cycle, how from the reproductive system, how our man's menstrual cycle looks like periods. So yeah, how it is done, and maybe after Mercy, I'll try to will breakout session for 5 minutes.
Katile, you're breaking.
We will have a breakout session for 5 minutes. Someone is using their phone. That's why you are hearing an echo. So we'll have a breakout session after Mercy's talk for 5 minutes, and we'll leave the questions in the chat box. So kindly check the chat box. I'll not give it instructions when I'll just, after Mercy presentation, we'll have questions and then we'll have the breakout rooms for 5 minutes. So when you get back to the group, to your group, you discuss the questions and then get back to the group. Someone from your group will present your points in 1 minute. So Mercy, are you done? So when I breakout room, you will go and your question, write your points, and when you get back immediately to your group, last time we had a group which was not presenting, kindly make sure if you're a member from a group, if the person you have chosen doesn't present, just present your points. And for those who are asking about the attendance form, we have shared it. I'm closing it in the next 5 minutes.
Mercy, I'm thinking you can as well share the presentation via email so that we can share it. Thank you.
Hello, Mercy, are you back? Mercy, when you are ready, you can kindly tell me so that you can continue with the session.
Katile, will you respond to the question from Jacqueline? Jacqueline is asking about the breakout rooms. Why is it that you can find that you're in group 1, then after some minutes you are shifted to group 5 or 4?
That was the session we had on Thursday. Some of the participants went into a group and they didn't discuss anything. So I had, yeah. But today I'll not regroup. You'll just remain in your group. Mercy, are you ready?
Yes. Can you all see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Katile? Katile?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mercy, we can see your screen. Just go ahead and feel most welcome.
Yeah. So I'm going to be presenting on menstruation cycle, and menstruation cycle, as we all know, is a series of events that occur within a woman's womb that prepares the possibilities of the womb for pregnancy each month. So menstruation is the monthly shedding of a woman's uterus womb, which is partly blood and tissues. Sometimes the blood comes out in forms of tissues, and which from the inside of the uterus, which flows through the vagina and which flows through the fallopian tube and up the uterus and out of the body through the vagina. And so the average cycle is normally 28 days, but it may vary in different menstruation bodies, which is between 21 to 35 days. You may find some people have a cycle of 21 days and others have a cycle of 28 days, others have a cycle of 35 days. So this is basically a diagram on the menstruation cycle. As I continue presenting, it will be clearly demonstrated here. You can see these are the parts of the reproductive organs of a woman, where we have the endometrium, that is the lining of the uterus. We have the ovary, we have the fallopian tube. This is where the egg, after the egg or the ovum flows through to go and attach itself to the endometrium. Then we have the uterus. Then we have the vagina. Then you can see where the menstrual flow goes through. Can everybody see the diagram?
Yes, we can see the diagram. I think it's very clear.
Okay. So the start in the menstrual cycle, this menstrual cycle, the diagram that is shown there, is triggered by rise and falls of chemicals called hormones. So yes.
You can click the
I can? Until I can't hear you clearly.
Mercy, can you zoom in and then you click the slide session?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So Next slide. So the steps in the menstrual cycle are triggered by rise and fall of chemicals called hormones. Basically, hormones are the ones that control how the menstrual cycle works. The ovaries in the reproductive tract and the pituitary gland in the brain co-interact. So the brain and the reproductive tract, they have a system. It's like a system that correlates, whereby the brain whereby the brain releases some hormones at different, which will help to coordinate with the hormones that are released in the reproductive tract to trigger the different phases in the menstrual cycle. So the different phases of the menstrual cycle. The different phases of the menstrual cycle as named below. There's the menses phase, there's the follicular phase, there's the ovulation phase, and there's the luteal phase. So during the menses phase, this phase lasts from the 1st to the 5th day. During the 1st to the 5th day, this is where normally the bleeding is happening. This is a time the lining of the uterus, the endometrium, sheds as partly blood and partly as tissues if the pregnancy does not occur. So if fertilization does not occur, if the ovum does not meet a sperm and fertilization does not occur, no pregnancy occurs. So the egg that is had attached in the endometrium, that is the lining of the uterus, sheds as partly blood and as partly tissues. That is the menses phase. Then we have the follicular phase. Usually takes place from the 6th to the 14th day. And it is triggered by a hormone called estrogen, which rises and causes the lining of the uterus. We said the lining of the uterus is called the endometrium to grow and thicken. Additionally, another hormone, the follicular stimulating hormone, causes follicles in the we've seen during this time that the follicular phase, this is the 6th to the 14th day, the estrogen hormone makes the endometrium to grow and thicken. And also there is the follicle stimulating hormone that causes follicles in the ovaries to grow. This normally happens between the 10th to the 14th day, which will form a fully mature egg. So as the endometrium is growing, which is caused by the estrogen, also the egg is maturing, the ovum. It matures between the 10th to the 14th day. And this is caused by the follicle stimulating hormone. Then we have the ovulation stage. This phase occurs around day 14 in a 28th day. It's usually during the middle of a cycle. And it's caused by a hormone called luteinizing hormone, which increases. Once the luteinizing hormone increases, it causes the ovary to release the ovum. This process is called ovulation. So we've seen the hormone that causes the ovary to be released from the ovary during the ovulation period is called the luteinizing hormone. So the whole process is called ovulation. Then we have the luteal phase. This phase lasts from the 15th to the 28th day. So this phase occurs immediately after the ovulation. After ovulation takes place, the egg begins to travel through the fallopian tubes to the uterus. A hormone, progesterone, rises to help prepare the uterine lining for pregnancy. And then if the egg is fertilized by a sperm and attaches itself to the uterine wall, the woman becomes pregnant. If pregnancy does not occur, estrogen and progesterone levels drop, and the thickened lining of the uterus is shed during the menses period. So we've seen each stage has a hormone that is helping it do its particular thing. So in the, like we've seen in the follicular phase, the estrogen is the one that helps in the thickening of the endometrium. We've seen in the ovulation stage, it's the luteinizing hormone that helps in the releasing of an egg or an ovum. In the luteal phase, it's the progesterone that helps, rises to help prepare the uterine lining for pregnancy, just in case fertilization occurs. Up to there, is there a question?
I think somebody's saying that you are so fast, so I don't know, but you can reduce your tempo. Then somebody's saying again, I'm looking at the charts. Yes, the screen can be seen, but the sentences do not end here part ya WPS inafunika. I don't know if it's possible you can share it with us so that we can share the screen to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, I've shared with Katile.
Okay, thank you.
Can you see now?
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when does menstruation begin? Menstruation begins at around 12 years of age. Normally it begins at 12 years of age, but in some girls, it can start as early as 8 years, and in other girls, it can start as late as 16 years. So you can see the diagram of the menstruation cycle, where the 4 processes have been explained, where you can see where the ovary is. In the ovary, this is where the ovum is produced, and it flows through the fallopian tube to the uterus, where the uterus lining is called the endometrium. You can see it thickening. The endometrium lining of the uterus, it thickens. So if fertilization does not occur, the menstruation flow happens, which the menstruation comes out in forms of blood and partly tissues, and it flows through the uterus to the vagina and out of the vagina. So symptoms of a normal menstruation, it is okay. Some people find it hard, but cramps in the lower abdomen and back. This is symptoms of a normal menstruation. There is also some people, in some women, there's bloating. Some women and young girls, there's bloating of the stomach. There's also tenderness in the breasts. There's also the tendency of an acne outbreak, normally in the forehead. There's some people crave for sweet foods, others crave for salty foods. It depends with different people. Then some people experience trouble in sleeping. Then there is symptoms that may need, those are symptoms of a normal menstruation. So what is menopause? So as much as we are learning about menstruation cycle, there is also menopause. And menopause, menopause is when women can stop menstruating. Menopause usually happens when a woman stops menstruating as early. It may happen as early as 45 years of age and as late as 55 years of age. Once menopause begins in a woman can no longer become pregnant. So there are symptoms that may need a doctor's consultation during your menstruation cycle. You may not have started menstruating at age 16, which is it may be having a medical problem. Then your period may stop suddenly, and you don't know the reason for the period to stop suddenly. Maybe you're not under family planning methods, you're not under, and you don't have any medical issues. You should seek out help from a consultant or a doctor. Then there is unusual heavy bleeding. This is not normal. You should just have periods that are normal. So this should lead you, you should look for consultation from a doctor. Then there is bleeding for a long time. Then there is severe pains during periods. Then you can be getting STIs after use of tampons and sanitary towels. You should immediately seek medical advice. Then when you think you're pregnant, you may have had unprotected sex and during your menstruation cycle, and you may think your period may delay, so you should seek consultation from a doctor if you're pregnant. Then there's periods prolonging or getting lost due to birth control methods. You may find some birth control methods like the depot and the implants might make you have a long period time, a long menstruation time, and sometimes the bleeding might occur for a long time. Sometimes it may occur for a short time, or it may not occur. This is a symptom that may lead you to look for consultation from a doctor. So I think basically that is everything we should know about the menstruation cycle. And I was supposed to present this before. I'm so sorry, I came in late. I was supposed to present this before Katile, so that she can, before my former presenter. She was supposed to present on, before she presented endometrium. So I was supposed to explain the whole menstruation cycle, the reproductive health system, so that she will come in with the endometrium and explain where it occurs, how it occurs. So I will look on the chat box for some questions. So kindly clarify on that last point. Okay. That last point where this is from Dalma Marita. Which that last point, please specify. Yeah, acne, somebody, there are some insights here. Acne breakouts is when you have pimples during your periods. Yeah, it's correct.
Mercy?
Yes.
I think there's somebody raising his hands, Joseph Otieno.
Oh, there's somebody raising their hand. Okay, they can talk.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, madam.
Yes, yes,
Hello.
yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yes, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, the lessons have been good and everything is going okay.
I can't hear you properly. Kindly go to a place that is not noisy.
I think Joseph is in a noisy place. Joseph, will you kindly write your question in the chat box, just to avoid avoidance of noise and anything else. Thank you and feel most welcome.
So there's somebody, Stacy Gerono is asking a question. Is it possible that one gets menses but also but still also pregnancy test confirm positive? Yes, it's possible. You can get menses and you're pregnant, because at some point the ovulation might, the egg might have not shed the whole of it. The eggs that are released to be aligned in the endometrium, they might not have shed all of it. Then you have unprotected sex, and the sperm gets to fertilize the egg that has not shed. So it's possible you might get pregnant. Explain why some ladies do have menstrual periods twice a month, and sometimes one can go a month without menses. So I explained in my last slide, or my last slide, I explained on some things that may make a person get their menses twice a month. There's the birth control methods, the implants, the depots, the family planning methods. They can make you have your menses twice a month, or even you might miss your menses, right? And then there is you might be having complications like our previous presenter said, the endometriosis, and it might be a condition that is making you either bleed continuously or not bleed. Then there is also, there are several conditions, cysts, that may be making you get your menses twice a month. Okay, then does climate affect menstrual cycle? Yes, it does. Remember we said that the reproductive health is being controlled by the hormones, the luteinizing hormone, the estrogen, the progesterone. So you might go to a different environment or a different climate, and the hormones are triggered to start the whole process of the menstruation cycle. So yes, climate does affect your menstruation cycle. Does family planning balance hormones when one has irregular periods? Yeah, the pills, the family plan, yes.
Mercy, there's a question on kindly help in calculating safe days, because some ladies does not understand this, especially when you are married, and does not prefer to FP.
Okay, I will explain. They have written there down, somewhere down. I will explain on the safe days. Let me just finish on answering the question for the. Yes, there's a lady who asked that, does family planning regularize hormones when one has irregular periods? Yes, they are the pills. The 28-day pills regulates you are usually advised to take them so that they may regulate, because it's a 28-day cycle on the pills. So you are told to take them so that your periods may regularize. Then, so there is okay, on the safe days, I can say I don't want to talk on them because safe days are not a guarantee. You might get pregnant. There is that period chart. I'm going to share with Katile that chart, and then maybe she can share to your group. There is that period chart, but safe days, according to the latest research, are not guaranteed. They might fail you because nowadays I think according to the foods that you're taking, the climates and the kinds of conditions we are living in, our whole reproductive health system is being affected by them. But I'm going to share something on them. There is also a website called My Period, where you can maybe check out a bit. They have explained a bit on safe days, but they also say it's not a guarantee that safe days will help you or not getting pregnant. So how will one know that she is now fertile and able to get pregnant? You are able to get pregnant during the ovulation stage, the 14th day of your menstrual cycle. The ovulation day, that is the 14th day. From since you saw your period from the first day to the 14th, you count from the first to the 14th day. That is usually when you're ovulating, that is usually your fertile days. Yeah. Then why is it women or girls using family planning drugs experience heavy flow after some months or days? Family planning normally co-interacts with we've said our body, our reproductive health systems uses hormones to function. The hormones are the ones that may release the menstruation, release the ovums, and the ovums are attached to the endometrium and release the blood once fertilization does not occur. So when we introduce drugs like the implanon, the depots, they tend to co-interact with how the reproductive system occurs. So at some point, you might find a person is having a heavy flow because maybe the hormone that was released in plenty and released a lot of eggs, the eggs that are going to be aligned in the endometrium. So you find the person is having a heavy flow. So can a lady get pregnant when she involves in sex during menses? I don't think she can get pregnant because now during the menses, your eggs have already been shed. Already your egg was attached to the endometrium, and since fertilization did not occur, that's why it was released as partly blood and partly tissue. So I don't think during menses you can get pregnant. So somebody, Koriri is asking, is it normal for one to get menses within less than 20 days after the last menses? No, it's not normal. We said once you see your menses less than 28 20 days or less than, once you see your menses at not the right time when your cycle is supposed to happen, you're supposed to see consultation. I included that, and I think Katila is going to share that slide. Once you see your menses not at the time that you expect them, and you're not under family planning methods, and you don't have any other medical reproductive health conditions, you should consult a doctor. It's not normal. Do the phases you stated above apply to even those with irregular periods, those who go 21 days kind of? Yes. As I was starting, Jacqueline, I said menses last between 20, to some people it might go up to 35 days. To other, a normal cycle should be 28 days, but for some people it might be below 28 days, and for others it may last to 35 days. How do you know you are ovulating? Some say yes, they should. Some say that there is always a discharge. So you know you're ovulating. There are different body changes during ovulation. There are usually some different body changes during ovulation. And remember, during ovulation, this is the time that the ovum is being released. So there is some kind of uncomfortability. There's like some cramps in your lower abdomen when the ovulation is happening, and then your breasts tend to be sore a little bit. Yes, there are some conditions that you just know, and then you just feel during ovulation in a woman's body there's some kind of heat. You feel like you want to engage in sexual activities. Yeah, so you can a lady get pregnant in any other phase other than the ovulation phase? Yes, after. Yeah, can in any other phase than ovulation? Yes, immediately after ovulation you can get pregnant if your menses have not come and the egg has attached itself to the endometrium without fertilization occurring. You can get pregnant. How do you know? Okay, I think I've answered that. Yeah. So Katila, I think I'll answer last two questions. The questions are too many, and maybe, yeah, the questions are some of them are a repetition. I think I've talked about them. Also, somebody has said, kindly allow the slides to run from the first one as you continue answering the questions. Katila, you can share with them. The lessons are good, but okay, that is not mine. That is Katile's to answer. So I think that's it. I think we need more time to discuss next time. I think Katile can give us more time to discuss this, or a physical one, to discuss more on the menstrual cycle, because a lot of people seem interested on the menstrual cycle and the menstruation and how it occurs, and there seem to be a lot of myths on the menstruation cycle. So I think I'll leave it at that, and back to you, Katile.
Hello. Thank you so much, Mercy, for that session on menstrual health, menstrual cycle. I really appreciated how you tackled it. And I can see people asking a lot of questions about menstrual cycle and fertility. We'll have a session on fertility. So if you have safe days and fertility during that session, we'll be having it, I think, Thursday. So you'll be well answered on matters to do with how fertility, someone fertile, and also have a session on premature menopause. During this session, you'll be answered on how people maybe miss menstrual cycles on their fertility. So Eric is saying it was a good topic. Massive congrats. I think most of the question were answered. So Judy, your question about premature menopause will be answered during the session on premature menopause. Is there any if your question was not answered, Joshua?
Yes, Katile. There's a question on. Before I go to that question, I just wanted to say that we can have these questions as much as we want to have them. We can have them in the WhatsApp group so that we collect them collectively and even give out a rapid response form to really give out some of the key questions. I see we have a lot of questions, but then there's somebody who has insisted that Mercy, you need to talk about this. From Jacqueline Ouma, there was a story of a lady who never experienced menses. What can be the cause? I think you need to handle this because so that they, at least when we come out from here, we can be aware of that. Thank you. Yes, Mercy, do you feel like answering that?
So I can answer that, but not very clearly. Jacqueline, I think the reason this woman was not experiencing their menses, our body acts, the reproductive system acts on the hormones, the luteinizing, progesterone, estrogen, and there's one, there are like 4 hormones that the reproductive system works on, and for them to work on, there's also a hormone that is released by the brain which interacts with the 4 hormones that are in the reproductive health system to make sure an egg is released from the ovary. It flows through the fallopian tube to the endometrium so that it attaches there for the menstruation to occur or the pregnancy to occur. So in this case, I think this woman, the reason she was not having menses, probability the hormones were not being triggered to release those hormones that help in production of the ovum from the ovary, because generally the menstruation always occurs from the ovum being released from the ovary all through the fallopian tube to the endometrium where it is attached either for pregnancy or for being released in form of blood or tissue as the menstruation. So in this case, I think this woman didn't have hormones that were triggering the release of ovums in the ovaries for the menstruation to occur. Yeah, I think I have answered partly. Joshua, back to you. And also, I wanted, before Joshua comes back, I was requesting on, maybe you can get all the questions for me, and then Katile can forward to me the ones that I left out, but I really tried to answer most of them. I think I didn't leave anybody out. And then I can answer all of them and get and forward it to her. She can forward to the WhatsApp groups. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy. And I think we are going to do that and ensure that we collect in the questions. We'll do that through a Google form so that every participant is able to highlight his or her own question that he or she feels that wasn't dealt with, and then we can get to you, and then we get back to the questions and responses. I can see Joseph's hand is up. Joseph. Can see Joseph hand is up.
Hello. Are you getting me? Hello.
Yes, we can get you, Joseph.
Hello.
We are getting you right, even though you are at a noisy place.
Yeah, my concern has not been answered.
Go ahead. What's your concern?
I was talking about the data.
Data.
Yeah, you know, many people have realized they are not attending these lessons because of the data bundles. Like now you see people leaving, it's because of data bundles.
Your point is noted.
Yeah.
Your point is noted, and we'll discuss about that. Joseph, your point has been noted, and we'll get to the technical team to really try and answer that. So your point is noted. I think we have noted that. We have gotten your feedback response, and we'll get back to you. So allow me invite Katile. Katile, welcome.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Can you hear
Yeah,
you?
Sorry, I disconnected. What Mercy finished question?
Okay. Yes, I finished on my questions.
Oh, sorry, I disconnected.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I've told Joshua to send me the any question on menstrual cycle a person has. I will answer all of them comprehensively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll do a form and then we'll have the questions and then we'll send to you maybe tomorrow. Thank you so
Sure.
much. Thank you so much, Mercy Wanchiko, for that wonderful session on menstrual cycle, and thanks so much to Positive Women's Voices. I think after that, we will have the breakout rooms. So breakout room 1, if you go to breakout room 1, you will discuss symptoms that people experience with menstruation. Someone can type in the chat box.
Atile, can I kindly leave?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Sure. I hope everybody enjoyed the session. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Symptoms or disorders that women experience during menstruation, that is breakout room 1. Breakout room 2, human rights that are related to menstruation. Human rights that are related to menstruation. Breakout room 3, myths and taboos of menstruation. Myths and taboos of menstruation and how it affects the status of the women. Myths and taboos of menstruation and how it affects the status of the woman. And breakout room 4, menstruation health related complications, menstrual health related complications. I will assign you the breakout rooms. So kindly stop asking, how will you know? You will see a notification on your phone or on your laptop telling you to join a certain group. So breakout room 1, symptoms or disorders that women experience during menstruation. Group 2, human rights related to menstruation. 3, myth and taboos of menstruation. And breakout room 4, menstrual health related complications. So I'm assigning you a breakout room automatically. And for those who are following us in Facebook Live, you will discuss, you will type in the chats. For those who are following us Facebook Live, you will discuss in the chats what people use to manage menstruation. Items that people use to items that people use to eat during menstruation for those who are in Facebook Live. So the breakout rooms are for, I'll put 10 minutes, and for presentation, each group 2 minutes.
Hello, is this a breakout session?
Hello, is everyone back?
Yes, we are back.
I can see some people are not back yet.
We are back.
Present. Everyone is back.
Some of us.
Okay.
Yes, we are back.
Sawa. So I think every group I looked at each and every group, and there was no group which was not discussing. So I would like someone from group 1. You just say your name, your group, what you are discussing. You can just unmute yourself. Someone from group 1.
Hi everyone, I'm
Hello.
Lavin. I'm presenting from group 1, and our question was symptoms of menstruation. So the first point was bloating. Another one is tenderness of the breast, acne breakout, craving for various food, having trouble in sleeping, cramping, headache, at times mood swings, feeling tired, and at times discharge. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavi from group 1. I saw you are discussing from group 1, and thank you, group 1 members. Group 2, someone from group 2.
Good evening, colleagues. This is Eunice. So presenting on behalf of group 2, we were around 15, 16. So what we were discussing was human rights associated with menstruation. So we felt like there's no specific human right for menstrual health, but we just have some rights or some areas. They're like scattered all over depending on various things that affect women and girls during menstruation, like issues around the right to attain the highest attainable standard of health, free of discrimination. Then also the right to be treated with dignity. That's the issue of access to menstrual health and management. Is a dignity issue. Access to safe hygienic facilities and amenities, which affects the management of menstrual hygiene, like right to access water, soap, and even the basic requirements that one needs when they're going through menses. Then also the right to attain medical attention during menses. Sometimes there are pain and even other infections that might occur as a result. So they have the right to medical attention without stigma nor discrimination. Then also right to be respected and included in public events without citing menses as the reason why they should not be brought on board. Issues around non-stigma, discrimination, and even social isolation. Then for girls, also the right to education. So they require support in order to remain in school even during menses, like the issue of sanitary towels in schools throughout. Then also finally the right to work. There are those organizations and even some job or employers who tend to discriminate on women, and they cite that probably in a month, women will be moody, sometimes they will require offs during menses. So they tend to segregate them so that they don't give them employment and they prefer men. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. Thank you, Eunice, for that. Did you mention the right to education?
Yes, Katila, we mentioned, and it's also in the chat.
Okay, thank you. You really tackled your topic well. Someone from group, thank you so much, Eunice, and thank you so much, group 2. Someone from group 3. There's no one from group 3. I think group 3 didn't discuss then. Group 4. Someone from group 4.
Hello, where is Jat? Jat, I've asked you to unmute. Please unmute and present group 4. Thank you.
I don't know how to say it in the group. One we had back pains. Then we also had hypermenorrhea and amenorrhea. Hello. Hello. I think some of them, Eric, our group lead, can share it with us. I don't remember the remaining ones.
Okay, thank you so much, Jat. So group 4 had some few discussion about the menstrual health complications. One of them was menstrual syndrome. And then they also discussed about painful periods. That is called, in scientific terms, dysmenorrhea. There was also abdominal uterine bleeding. And then they talked about amenorrhea, which is bleeding caused in the absence of menstrual bleeding. Then they also hinted about heavy or prolonged menstrual bleeding, which in scientifically it's referred to as menorrhagia. Then lastly, there was something about premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So those are some of the few complications that were discussed in that group that I also noted from my side. Thank you, and back to you, Katile.
Thank you so much, Joshua. And thank you so much, group 3. Group 4, I've seen in the chat box, someone wrote a summary. And group 3, Newton has sent in the chat box also the myth and taboos on menstruation. Periods are shameful, periods are personal issues, hormones define women. Some religions don't allow menstruating women to lead concretes because they are unclean. And we have so many myths on menstruation, but what I should encourage you is that, like, it's just a normal thing, and both female and male should be aware of it and create awareness on menstruation. So I'll read out. Okay. Thank you so much, group 3. I read for group 5 here, those who are in our page live. We are having items used during menstruation. Maureen Carlos is saying sanitary towels, menstruation cups, tampons. Someone is talking. So we have Maureen Carlos saying sanitary towels, menstruation cups, tampons. Scania Mario saying pads, tampons, other painkillers such as Buscopan to relieve the pain. We have Lindsay saying disposable pads and tampons. Dan saying tampons and menstrual towels. I think those are the comments from some of the items that you use during periods. I don't know why people usually forget about things to do with tissues. Yeah, it's so essential. But thank you so much for those who are watching us live for that comments on the topics, some of the items that you can use during periods. So at least today you have participated well in the breakout rooms. I see next week will not be having problems with breakout rooms. And I once again thanks for the participants for attending on time. And I think we are finished before 8. If we do that, I'm sure we'll be taking our sessions for 1 hour and 30 minutes. So thank you so much for cooperating. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you have learned a lot from the session. And for as I said, for the quizzes, we'll do them. I share in the group how we will do the quizzes. And for the next topic, we'll be having a topic on fertility on Thursday next week. So see you next week and have a good evening, and thank you for participating in today's session. For the attendance form, it is active. It will be inactive at 8 p.m. Exactly at 8 p.m. the attendance form is active, will be inactive. Someone can share the link in the chat box. Otherwise, you can leave at your own pleasure. I will close the group at 8. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll thank you so much, Joshua, for joining us from our department of survey. Then Nandi, we have Akini, and you can also continue telling our friends to make sure they attend the session. If you miss a session or you don't late, you can check in our Facebook page. Have a good evening all.